More than 7 decades have gone by since a king rode out from Buckingham Palace on the day of his official birthday. Back in 1950, it was George VI. Today, it's his grandson, King Charles III, who will inspect his troops on Horse Guards Parade amid all the pageantry, the music and the ceremony of trooping the colour. And as we all know, so much has changed since the parade of 12 months ago here on Horse Guards. We have a new monarch. We have 3 new royal colonels. We have all 5 Foot Guards regiments taking part for the first time in over 30 years. But one thing never changes, and that's the tradition of trooping the colour to celebrate the sovereign's official birthday. As we were saying, this is the first birthday parade of the new reign, so it's a very special honour for the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards to be trooping their colour for King Charles III, who was Prince of Wales, served as Colonel of the regiment for 47 years. The last occasion on which the Welsh Guards trooped their colour was 3 years ago in 2020, when a smaller scale event was held at Windsor Castle. But this year at Horse Guards, as you can see, it's all very much a full programme of ceremony and military music, with an audience of thousands of people in the stands here and many more watching around the UK and overseas. Now, we are live on BBC One this morning with expert guests and interviews with those involved. There are plenty of options for you. There is also signed coverage available. We have audio-described commentary for those who are blind or partially sighted. And we have coverage with no interviews or commentary. Just press red now on the handset and you can access those on iPlayer. And after the parade, yes, we are looking forward to seeing the spectacular birthday tri-service flypast watched by the King and his family on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. The Welsh Guards, of course, as they've been telling us in recent weeks, acutely aware of the honour of leading this first birthday parade of the new reign. It's been a lot of hard work, and these active infantry soldiers switching now to ceremonial duties.
This means a lot to a Welshman to be part of an infantry Welsh regiment with the history that we've got.
I'm really so proud to be a Welsh Guardsman. The Welsh Guards is more than a regiment. It's like a family.
It's unique in a way that we are dual-rolled. We do get the honour and the privilege to provide the ceremonial duties for the royal family.
When many people see us in red tunic, they think that we just do that. But we are also an operational unit.
Within the last sort of 12 months, we've done many exercises overseas. Intertwined in between all of that, we were tasked with training Ukrainian soldiers. Training the Ukrainians was very rewarding. You obviously want to help individuals out, and you can see they're just the same as us. It felt great, to be honest, something that, I'll remember for a long time.
The King was the colonel of our regiment.
He's had a massive influence throughout the battalion for many years. March! I think for the Welsh Guards, the honour is great in regards to trooping His Majesty's first colour.
To see him stepping up as the King, it's just an exciting day for everyone on parade.
It's really a great privilege to wear the red tunic on historic days like this.
We obviously want to do this troop to the highest standard possible in order to pay him back for what he's done for us.
The eloquent words of the Welsh Guards there. It's a good moment for us to talk about the essence of trooping the colour. Many of you will know, but for those watching for the first time, the colour is the regimental flag at the heart of today's ceremony. It records the regiment's battle honours, and today it is the King's colour of the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards. It's being protected at this stage, protected before the parade by the colour party. Colour Sergeant Joel Bladen from Swansea, Guardsman Kyle Parker from Newport, and Guardsman Lewis Jenkins from Abercynon. And watching them with a very sharp eye is my special guest today, Colonel Henry Llewellyn Usher, who served as Commanding Officer of the Welsh Guards and took charge of the birthday parade at Windsor in 2020. I know that you're a very proud man today, Henry. It's great to have you with us. Tell us what you're looking forward to.
Hugh, good morning, and Borodar, it's a privilege to be here at Horse Guards with you. And of course, as a former commanding officer, it's a very special moment for me to watch my battalion troop its colour on the first King's birthday parade since 1951.
We are looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to all the colour and the pageantry and the music, and of course to some very polished and precise drill. Let's take a look at the 6 companies of Foot Guards, each led by 3 officers whose every move will be scrutinised today. 1st Battalion Welsh Guards, as I said, providing number 1 guard. They're known as the Escort. Captain of the Escort is Major Alex Major. Welsh Guards are also providing number 2 guard. And then number 3 guard is provided by Nijmegen Company Grenadier Guards. Number 4 guard by F Company Scots Guards. Number 5 guard by number 9 Company Irish Guards. And at the far end, number 6 guard provided by number 7 Company Coldstream Guards. The man taking charge of today's parade, Commanding Officer of the Welsh Guards, Lieutenant Colonel John Livesey, whose formal title today is Field Officer in Brigade Waiting, and my colleague JJ Chalmers has been meeting him.
Yes, I'll be talking to those involved, trying to get a sense of the day, the occasion, but also a sense of all the effort that has gone into the preparations in places like this, the stables here, a Horse Guards parade, and a man who's been absolutely central to these preparations and the success of today is the Field Officer in Brigade Waiting, Lieutenant Colonel John Livesey, and your horse George, I should say, as well. How are you feeling, sir, particularly about to lead these men and women on parade, and how have the preparations gone?
The preparations have gone well. Obviously, all that counts is today. Personally, it's obviously a sense of huge pride. It's not just my battalion's colour that's being trooped today, but also all of the Foot Guards are represented from all the home nations. So the opportunity to command a parade in that context is a really special honour.
Well, go well, sir. And of course, yourself, George, as well.
Yes, we wish Lieutenant Colonel John Livesey very well, and all of those on parade today. All 5 regiments of Foot Guards, along with the Household Cavalry regiments, they'll have their regimental colonels present on parade today. That includes 3 of the new royal colonels appointed by the King since his accession last September. And today will mark their first appearance in these important roles at the birthday parade.
The Household Division were particularly fortunate to have members of the royal family as the colonels of some of our regiments. But they're really the sort of head of the family. They take a great interest in the activity of the regiment. They're able to offer counsel, advice, perspective, which is really encouraging to everybody. And so, of course, it's not just meeting the commanders, they get to know the broader regiment, so our families, our veterans, who, of course, are tremendously important to us.
We were thrilled to receive the news that Her Majesty Queen Camilla had been appointed Regimental Colonel of the Grenadier Guards. And it means a huge amount to all of us that Her Majesty came to Aldershot to visit the 1st Battalion, to visit its people, presented some medals and took a keen interest in all ranks, and particularly those that had just returned from Iraq.
There's a very strong historical precedent for the Prince of Wales being the Colonel of the Welsh Guards. This year, Prince William has now taken over as Colonel of the regiment, which we're very excited about. He himself has served in the military. He's been through the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst. Having a colonel who really understands what we do is incredibly important.
I think for every Irish Guardsman, there's a real sense that in the Princess of Wales, we have a colonel who has already shown she's incredibly dedicated and loyal. When she came in the driving snow to Salisbury Plain, we can all feel her sincerity, her warmth, her genuine desire to be there. And in turn, every Irish Guardsman, as her Irish Guardsman, want to repay that, want to demonstrate our loyalty to her.
For all of us on parade, to parade in front of the new king on his first birthday parade is a unique privilege. And I think for the Guardsmen in the Grenadier Guards, in the Irish and Welsh Guards, to have their new colonels on parade makes it a particularly special day for the Foot Guards.
Indeed, a very special day for the Foot Guards. Major General Chris Geeker there, the Major General commanding the Household Division. And we're at Buckingham Palace and we're waiting for the first royal guest to set off for Horse Guards Parade for that short journey along the Mall, the carriage procession. And there we have the Household Cavalry and the field officers, trumpeters standing by for the departures from Buckingham Palace and for the eventual departure of the King a little later on. But the first carriages, which will be emerging very shortly through that central archway, bringing the Duchess of Edinburgh and her children. And then we expect the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester too. And then in a car, in the same procession, the Duke of Kent and his son. So a great sense of anticipation here as we await the start of this first birthday parade of the reign of King Charles III. Standing by for the bugler to announce the departure. The Duchess of Edinburgh making her way with Timothy Lawrence, husband of the Princess Royal. Normally we'd see the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Edward, in this carriage, but Henry, it's the case today, of course, that the Duke of Edinburgh has new royal duties in this procession.
He does, Hugh, yes. As there are now, the London Guards are reserve part of the Household Division, are actually on parade, street lining on the Mall. He is rightly taking his place as their Royal Colonel, mounted, and will be riding in the main procession.
In the second carriage, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. Duke was a first cousin of Her late Majesty the Queen, and another first cousin of the late Queen, the Duke of Kent, who's 87 this year, travelling by car to Horse Guards Parade, and he's travelling with his son today. So the carriages making their way towards the Mall, this famous processional route on the short journey to Horse Guards Parade. Crowds here appreciating the first taste of some of the pageantry and ceremony that we have on this day of the birthday parade, but knowing full well that the grand procession, the sovereign's procession, will be a bigger, more colourful affair, and that will begin very shortly when the King will be riding to the parade ground and leading a big procession which will include the sovereign's escort, the Household Cavalry, the mounted band, and some of the new royal colonels as well that have been appointed by His Majesty in the past 8 months or so. The carriages all gleaming and looking wonderful, work of the Royal Muse, and that's before we even begin to talk about the magnificent horses who are in peak condition and really are some of the best elements of the parade for so many people. And back at Buckingham Palace, they will be getting ready for that sovereign's procession and the King's departure. Sovereign's escort, which will consist of the Lifeguards and the Blues and Royals. 2 divisions of each in this Sovereign's procession. King Charles III salutes on the day of his first birthday parade as monarch. The royal salute sounded by the field officer's trumpeter of the Sovereign's escort, telling the world that the King is on his way, riding to his first birthday parade as sovereign, followed by 3 royal colonels. We have the Princess Royal, who's the colonel of the Blues and Royals. We have the Duke of Edinburgh of the London Guard, and we have the Prince of Wales for the first time in this procession as Colonel of the Welsh Guards. Princess Royal riding Sir John, Prince Edward riding George, and Prince William riding Derby today. These horses, gifts of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And there in the carriage, that's a lovely sight, isn't it? We have Prince George and Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis, along with Queen Camilla, and we have the Princess of Wales too. The Queen wearing a red silk dress which reflects the heritage of the Grenadier Guards, because she's of course the new Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, and the Princess of Wales in green, reflecting her new association with the Irish Guards. And the King, who for more than 70 years has been watching and taking part in this parade, started as a very young prince, now riding to his parade, the King's birthday parade, for the first time. His actual birthday celebrated in November. He'll be 75 in November. And it is remarkable to think, when we see the King today, that when his late mother was 75, she had already been on the throne for half a century. A remarkable comparison. The King today riding Noble, who's a gift from the Canadian Mounted Police as well. Prince George there, we can just see on the right waving. He's 9, he'll be 10 next month. And Princess Charlotte, who's 8, and Prince Louis just there in the centre. They're both looking after him. He's just 5. On Horse Guards Parade, the number 3 guard has opened up to make way for the first of the royal carriages. And when they cross onto the parade ground, the crowd will be getting to their feet, ready for the national anthem. Vice Admiral Timothy Lawrence and the Duchess of Edinburgh heading for the archway here at Horse Guards. The royal guests will be watching from the office of the Major General commanding the Household Division. The office once occupied by the Duke of Wellington in days gone by, where you can see the office windows have been prepared especially. It's a wonderful vantage point for today's parade. Just passing the saluting base there, where the King will be taking the salute when the troops march past, and the mounted troops too. Back on the Mall, and what a magnificent sight. Decked in Union flags, down beyond the Queen Victoria Memorial to Buckingham Palace. And when they say this is a grand processional route, on days like today you understand the full meaning of grand. Mounted band making its presence felt. The Brigade Major leading the way. And Henry, it's fair to say that the Brigade Major has quite a big role.
He does indeed. Colonel James Shaw, Lieutenant Colonel James Shaw, in charge now for his second year. He has a pivotal role, and alongside the Garrison Sergeant Major, they organise the birthday parade, indeed all the major state occasions. It's been an incredible busy year for him. You know, just 6 weeks ago, he was leading the coronation procession up the Mall. And he is the timekeeper. He keeps an eye on what's going on, the time, to ensure that His Majesty will be on the parade ground at 11 o'clock. And at the same time, he's also keeping an eye on Shadow to ensure that he walks in a straight line. Who seems to have an aversion to drain covers, James was saying in the week.
Well, it seems to be a very careful and polished and precise progress towards the parade ground today, has to be said.
Doing well so far.
Followed by 4 troopers of the Blues and Royals. And now we have the mounted band, combined mounted band of the Household Cavalry, directed by Major Paul Collis-Smith. Band of the Life Guards and Blues and Royals were merged in 2014. Some 51 musicians with 51 horses today. 2 magnificent drum horses, Apollo and Juno. And we had a word with Hugh Murphy of the Dyfed-Shire stable in Eglwyswrw, which is in Pembrokeshire, the other day, and they're the proud providers of the drum horses. We'll talk a little more about them later on, but they certainly are star performers. And the entire mounted band resplendent in the ancient uniform that they wear. His Majesty the King riding on horseback, as he has done for decades, in his full ceremonial guard order of the Welsh Guards. That's the uniform he's wearing. Welsh Guards, because that is the regiment trooping its colour today. That's the reason that he's wearing his uniform, not because he was Colonel of the Welsh Guards for 47 years, though I'm sure he's proud to be wearing the uniform in any case. And then the Royal Colonels, the King's siblings, Anne and Edward, and his elder son, and his first birthday parade as Colonel of the Welsh Guards. In the carriage behind them, Queen Camilla, her first state event as Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, and the Princess of Wales, her first parade as Colonel of the Irish Guards. A quick word about the Queen's dress, because it's a red silk coat dress by Fiona Clare, inspired by the uniform of the Grenadier Guards, and reflected on the dress with the rank insignia of a full colonel on the epaulettes. Mounted band ready to turn onto the approach road. music changes. An injection of energy as they approach the parade ground. First and second divisions of the Sovereign's escort provided by the Blues and Royals. Their colonel is the Princess Royal. And a word again about the Queen's hat, because a lot of thought has gone into this. Hat by Philip Tracy, which is a nod apparently to the bearskin, with a grenade forming up to a feather plume. That is the explanation that we've been given. Third division of the Sovereign's escort making that turn. The King and the three Royal Colonels approaching the parade ground, ready for this parade to begin at 11 o'clock. Not all of the Household Division regiments have a Royal Colonel. Lieutenant General Sir James Bucknell has been Colonel of the Coldstream Guards since. Sir Edward Smith Osborne has been Colonel of the Life Guards since 2019. Talking of the Life Guards, they are providing the 3rd and 4th divisions of the Sovereign's escort in this Sovereign's procession today. This is where lots of the crowds get a better view of the procession itself. Lots of young people gathered in St. James's Park. And then we have groups of cadets and scouts and Girl Guides and lots of organizations represented today. And there too will be a group of Chelsea pensioners. All of them happy to come along, led by Major Matt Clarkson. And by the way, the oldest in pensioner there today, Mike Campbell-Smith, who's 89. So we hope they have a great day. King, who first attended this event on Horse Guards in 1951 as a very young prince. And here he is, over 70 years later, saluting the colour as monarch. The Royal Colonel saluting, and the coachman, Matt Powers, who's saluting the colour with his whip. So as the King approaches the saluting base, one of the greatest military parades anywhere in the world is about to begin. The field officer will be ordering the royal salute, after which His Majesty will, for the first time as monarch, inspect the line of guards. It is, in every sense of the word, an historic day.
Guards! Royal salute! Present! Arms!
Lovely sight there as the children make their way into the Horse Guards building. Lieutenant Colonel David Barringer. He is directing the mass band today. And in line with tradition, first section of today's ceremony starts as the King, the regimental colonels and the senior officers inspect the line of guards. The march is Welsh Spirit, a new arrangement. Music composed by Major Lauren Patritz-Watts, who's the Welsh Guards Director of Music and the first woman to become a Director of Music in the Household Division. Just a year ago, the Prince of Wales, as he was then, inspected this line on Her Majesty's behalf. And that parade reminded many of the ceremony back in 1951, this very place when Princess Elizabeth inspected the line on her father's behalf. So some very powerful parallels. Change of tempo. The mass band switches to Let the Hills Resound, written by Brynley Richards, a Welsh composer whose works include God Bless the Prince of Wales. Just a few days ago at Buckingham Palace, His Majesty presented a new sovereign standard to the Blues and Royals. The Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment bearing the new King's cipher and crown. Saluting the King's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery, commanded by Major Fran Sykes. The Royal Party saluting the lead gun of the King's Troop, which constitutes the regimental colour. the unmistakable figure of Major General commanding the Household Division, the last formal event in which Major General Christopher Geeker will be taking part. He'll be leaving the Army this summer after a long and distinguished career and a momentous period in charge of the Household Division.
Reflect how lucky I have been to be able to take part in these amazing events. I'm very sad that it's my last one. The Trooping the Colour is an amazing experience for all of us on a horse to ride down on a bright summer's day, with the crowds and the flags and with a sense of occasion. You soak up the atmosphere. And so I think it's a feeling of privilege and pride for all of us to take part in such a special day.
Major General Chris Geeker with some thoughts on what the day means, and everyone here enjoying the music with the strong Welsh flavour. Plenty more to come. The man in charge, as I mentioned, Senior Director of Music of the Household Bands, Lieutenant Colonel David Barringer.
So it's my first Trooping the Colour as the commanding officer. I've done several Trooping the Colour before, but it's really special to be the person that gets to conduct the mass bands. I'm a Welsh Guards officer, having been the Welsh Guards Director of Music, and throughout the parade, there's lots of moments where you'll think, yeah, we know that's a Welsh tune. For the troops on parade and for His Majesty, it's sort of a little bit of home, I suppose. It makes them feel like they're at home when they're delivering the parade, that they'll hear all this music that is so important to them.
That was Lieutenant Colonel David Barringer, who knows better than anyone that for many people, the best piece of music, well, best perhaps, has German origins. It's the one that is heard every year. It's the march by Meyerbeer called Les Huguenots, and it's an opportunity to see the mass band and to hear the mass band in all its glory. It's one of the highlights of the parade for many people. It's a tune that once listened to can't be forgotten, and it's coming up now, and just enjoy. The signal for the mass bands to counter march be given by the trombonist, Welsh Guards Colour Sergeant Andrew Mercer. He's the longest serving musician in the Foot Guards. Signal for them to counter march. Senior Drum Major Gareth Chambers gives the order for a change of pace. This is called Welsh Diadem. It's a double celebration of the King's birthday and his coronation, composed by Lance Corporal Gareth Trott, who's playing the euphonium in the parade today. The lone drummer breaking away, Lance Sergeant Chusa Siwale, marching to a position to the right of the escort, ready for the next phase of the parade, and Henry knows him well.
Do you? Yeah. Lance Sergeant Siwale was one of my guardsmen when I was the commander. He actually was the lone drummer in 2020 when we performed the troop in a reduced format on the quadrangle of Windsor Castle. And of course he is very much a soldier, as the corps of drums are guardsmen, are soldiers. So if there's avoidance of doubt, they are absolutely frontline soldiers first and foremost, and then they form the corps of drums for key parades. And his role now will be to signal the officers to take post so the escort can get ready to march around.
He's quite a character.
He is indeed, yeah. He's a very good drummer.
Drummer playing 8 bars of a field signal called the drummer's call. And the next phase of the parade, Henry, what is happening?
So the Sergeant Major now moves to the rear of the escort, and the orderly marched out, Lance Corporal William Asamoah. Interestingly, he was actually my orderly and I was commanding officer. I think the Sergeant Major may have poached him there. But the Sergeant Major now draws his sword, but it's a significant moment in the parade. It's the only time a Sergeant Major will draw his sword on parade, because he formally takes charge of the colour when the escort is marched forward and takes his position in front of the colour party on the other side of the square, and the Sergeant Major will then hand the colour to the ensign to be ready to troop.
For the colour, in close order, left, dress.
Subaltern of the escort, Captain James Phillips, giving the order for the escort to take up their dressing in close order. Tighter formation for the march forward.
Escort for the colour will advance. By the left, quick, march.
And at last, the long-awaited moment when the escort can step off to the familiar tune of the British Grenadiers. They'll be marching forward to hold some 16 paces from the colour party, ready for the collection to take place.
That's right, Hugh. So they'll now get ready to left turn on the march and then advance towards the colour. And on the other side of the square, the colour sergeant Bladen is getting ready to receive his rifle to be able to then take his place within the ranks when he's handed over the colour.
Director of Music moving through the band to the front, and we're now approaching the most significant part of the ceremony.
Change! Arms! Long! Arms!
And what a very special and proud moment for the Regimental Sergeant Major Di Lewis from Port Talbot, who was telling me the other day that this really is the summit. And again, Henry, just a proud moment, but also a moment that he'll never forget.
No, not at all, Hugh. I spoke to him first thing this morning to wish him luck, and naturally incredibly proud of this moment as
Escort to the colour. Present arms. Escort to the colour. Slow arms.
So the ensign and the Regimental Sergeant Major resume their positions within the escort. It's all been very smartly done. The escort for the colour now, having taken possession, is the escort to the colour, ready for the trooping to take place.
Escort to the colour. Change arms. Escort to the colour will advance. By the centre. Slow march.
The escort advances in slow time. The music is Escort to the Colour by Richard Ridings. And just take a look at this point as well at the band, because the band is having to perform the equivalent of a three-point turn. Hundreds of musicians supported by the corps of drums, changing direction without changing formation. They do say, Henry, that this is not written down anywhere. It's passed on by tradition. I'm not sure of your take on that.
Well, I'm not actually sure I'm particularly well qualified to comment on what the band are doing, but it's certainly the dark arts of what they do in there. They seem to get it right every time, and it looks incredibly impressive. And whilst playing music at the same time, it's incredibly professional.
So the music switches to the stately Grenadiers slow march as as the ensign to the colour prepares to troop the colour through the ranks, and this really is the symbolic heart of today's parade. And it really is the biggest moment of his career so far, surely, for Lieutenant Freddie Hopkinson, who was commissioned into the Welsh Guards last year. His parents, their doctors, his two sisters as well, they'll be looking on very proudly today.
Since joining the Welsh Guards, I think that was one of my main goals. Was I really wanted to be able to say that I was the ensign on a troop. It's a massive honour. I think my dad was almost in tears when I told him. Bringing the colour down and showing it off to His Majesty the King is always a great moment. It's always very special. It means everything to not just me, but the battalion as a whole, to troop our colour for His Majesty the King on his first birthday parade this year.
Yes, we spoke to Freddie at Windsor earlier this week, and Henry, it really is the honour of a lifetime in many ways.
It is, absolutely. He joins one of the most select groups in the Household Division who've been ensign to the colour for the birthday parade. And, you know, as you heard him say, and we spoke to him, he is immensely proud. And he's got a big job today, and a lot of people watching him, but he's doing pretty well so far.
So far, it looks like being very sharp and crisp.
Very good, yeah. They put a lot of time and effort, a lot of practice, a lot of hard work goes into this, a lot of hours spent rehearsing through the winter and then the last couple of weeks, as well as trying to perform and prepare for the coronation. So it's been a very, very tight schedule, but they're doing very well so far.
Well, as the escort completes its trooping, we can see ranges of medals, especially this one, Henry. This is the coronation medal.
Yeah, Freddie proudly wearing the new coronation medal that's kindly been awarded to all members of the armed forces from the coronation of His Majesty. And as you can see, all the members on parade today, both the foot guards, the bands, House of Cavalry and King's Troop will be wearing their medal, and it will be issued to members of the armed forces over the next couple of weeks.
Escort to the colour will advance. Left turn. Escort to the colour. Change arms. Guards! Slow! Arms! Officers! Take post! Quick! March! Numbers 1 to 5 guards will retire. About done. At the halt, Right form! Quick! March!
British Army, which maintains a corps of drums in each Foot Guards battalion, and unlike Army musicians, who are usually assigned to auxiliary duties in conflict, as Henry was saying, the drummers are fully trained infantry soldiers.
Yes, and sometimes it depends on the role that the battalion are in, but by and large, the corps of drums normally is the machine gun platoon. So they'll train as musicians and buglers, and then when we deploy in operations, they'll become a part of the support company or integrated into the rifle companies when we're conducting operations.
Numbers 1 to 5 guards will advance. About 10! Number 6 guards, close order, march! Move to the right in threes. Form threes! Right! Guards will march past in slow and quick time. By the left, slow, march.
So the parade moves into its next phase, this time involving members of all 6 guards. They march past the saluting base in slow and quick time, with the rousing regimental marches, reinforcing that sense of identity. But before that, the guards are forming up to the tune of a non-regimental or a neutral march, this one called Freedom of Windsor. And these neutral marches, Henry, do perform their own function.
Yeah, they do, Hugh. They are obviously a critical part of the parade now to allow the guards to form up and be ready to conduct the march past. But Freedom of Windsor is interesting because obviously home to the Welsh Guards at the moment in Combermere Barracks, and indeed the Colchester Guards and elements of the Household Cavalry training troop. And a piece of music written in the 60s by a former Irish Guards head of music to celebrate the fact that all the Foot Guards battalions had had the freedom, and his daughter's actually here today in the Crown, Mr. Maureen Everest, watching with interest.
Well, and hopefully enjoying every note of the music, every step of the marching too. Many of those on parade today, especially from the Welsh Guards, well, they'll have met the King, and they'll have met him as Prince of Wales, either at formal events or more informal gatherings with the regiment. So I think, Henry, it's fair to say that when we talk about a personal link, it's not empty talk, it actually means something.
No, it absolutely is. And you know, we saw the new Royal Colonels earlier on in the procession. They may be ceremonial titles, but they absolutely build a significant relationship with all the regiments. And for the Welsh Guards, you know, the Prince of Wales, then Prince of Wales, now the King, was Colonel of the regiment from 1975. He stood by the battalion throughout significant deployments to Northern Ireland, very difficult times post the Falklands, and then multiple tours that we've had through Iraq and Afghanistan, always supported us, very, very particular with the families as well.
There we have a good view of the field officer and brigade waiting, commanding officer of the Welsh Guards, Lieutenant Colonel John Livesey, and he has quite a responsibility today, Henry.
He absolutely does. Yeah, it's a rare occasion. Field officer and brigade waiting, an appointment he holds for one day. He's in a select group of us that have had the privilege to do it, and he's trained incredibly hard. A lot of us in the Foot Guards, not necessarily natural horsemen, a lot of time spent out practicing through the winter, the odd tumble, a little bit of gravel rash every now and then, but you know, he's doing a brilliant job at the moment, and he absolutely understands the significance of what he's doing today, and entirely professional, will be concentrating on what comes next and the process of the parade.
Well, what comes next is the march past the saluting base, and of course King on horseback, who will take salute as monarch for the first time at the birthday parade. ensign marching with the colour to the front of the escort, ready for the march past. And among the vast crowd today, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and, along with lots of distinguished guests today, including Prime Ministers of some of the Commonwealth states and realms. When the march past gets underway, all eyes again will be on the ensign, Lieutenant Freddie Hopkinson. Now that he's at the front of the escort, he'll be ready to lower and raise the colour for the King to flourish and to recover, as it's known. Lots of training. And Men of Harlech, the Welsh Regimental March. Colour there, and all the battle honours of the Welsh Guards beautifully embroidered onto this crimson colour. Freddie Hopkinson looking very smart and very sharp. Of Wales in his first parade as Colonel of the Welsh Guards, looking on proudly. The Grenadier slow march, and there's Queen Camilla, as new Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, looking on as Number 3 Guard passes the saluting base. Number 4 Guard, Left Company Scots Guards. Their regimental colonel since 1974, a vast period, has been the Duke of Kent, who is 87 this year, and watching from the saluting base with the Queen and the Princess of Wales. Number 5 Guard, Number 9 Company Irish Guards, and there's the Princess of Wales as their Royal Colonel. Number 6 Guard is Number 7 Company Coldstream Guards. Their slow march is Figaro. And their colonel is Lieutenant General Sir James Bucknell, who is riding on parade today. And then we have the adjutant of the parade, Captain Jonathan Leonard, 1st Battalion Welsh Guards, saluting the King as he passes.
Yeah, Johnny Leonard doing a very good job there. Formal role, the adjutant of the parade, to follow up the parade to ensure there are no defaulters in the old times. But Johnny, very experienced young man, and actually enlisted in the parachute regiment, served on as a paratrooper for a number of tours in Afghanistan before going to Sandhurst and commissioning to the Welsh Guards. So incredible operational experience, as well as how well he's performing today.
Music changing to another neutral slow march. This one is called Cardiff Castle. And the field officer riding out to salute the King now that the slow march past is complete. stands around Horse Guards today. Thousands of family and friends of those taking part in the parade. And of course, many more of you following the parade around the UK and overseas. Among those here, the family of Lance Sergeant Chusa Siwale, the lone drummer, we spoke about him earlier. They've been talking to JJ Chalmers.
So you'll be keeping a keen eye on Chusa today. Tell me, how are you feeling right now?
I'm excited to be here. It's the first time to see it. I've seen it on television, but it's the first time to come back here, so I'm honored to be here.
You're not at all nervous for him?
A little bit. A little bit. Oh, no, not a little bit, very much. But I know they go through a lot of drills, and I've seen him do very well, so I'm confident he'll do what he does best.
You originally come from Zambia as well. What does it mean to you as a nation to be part of this?
We are so proud of him. We celebrate things like this. As a family, we are proud to see him do what he does best, the music and everything.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, enjoy.
Neutral Quick March is the March of the King's Men. Wasn't it nice, Henry, to hear about the pride of families and, of course, to underline the support of families when it comes to a gathering like this?
Yeah, so lovely to hear that. And I think it would, all of us, none of us in the military can do what we do without the support of our family and our friends and our loved ones who support us. It's an extraordinary commitment, whether we're on operations overseas or whether we're training and preparing for big events like this. It requires a huge amount of dedication and time, and that time comes at a cost. So our loved ones are hugely appreciated for the support they give us.
Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, among those watching the parade today, ready for this march past in quick time. Admiral Tony Radican there, the head of the armed forces, with his French counterpart. This March of the King's Men, composed in 1937 by Captain DJ Plater, but actually, despite its popularity, it's the first time it's been played at this birthday parade, and it's a tribute to His Majesty the King. It's a question we often ask at this point, Henry, which is to do with the change of pace and the advantage, and are there any disadvantages? I don't know. What are the pros and cons of this change?
I don't think there's necessarily massive pros and cons. I think there's certainly naturally the change of pace, the change of rhythm, and just a slight adjustment in the formation to allow the guardsmen to swing their arm a bit high, throughout now as they're marching in quick time, whereas before in slow time they have the arm pinned by the side and they're a lot tighter in the ranks. So a little bit of adjustment, a little bit of finding the rhythm, and then ensuring they're stepping out with that 30-inch pace.
It's a great shot, this one. What do you make of it? What do you make of the style so far?
Well, I might be a little bit biased. I think the battalion looking pretty good.
Would it be unwise to place a bet on that, Henry? I think your verdict's going to be positive all the way.
Oh, naturally.
But they do look good.
Yeah, I think so far. I mean, all of them looking back down the ranks as the other guards are coming round into the back approach. So they're looking really good, really sharp. You can see how much effort is going in. And having spoken to some of the members of the other guards in the Irish Guards and the Scots Guards, all of them, whether Welsh Guards or not, are absolutely adamant they want to put on the best possible show and set the benchmark for this, the first King's Birthday Parade.
Because it's a new era. It opens a new chapter, and they want it to be a memorable one.
Absolutely, yeah.
Welsh Guards, quick march, the rising of the lark, Codiad ar y Hedydd. which is a very popular tune back in Wales, not necessarily always in a military context, but it's a great march, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, incredibly proud to hear it played out here on the parade square. It's the shortest march in the British Army, 17 bars, but you know, for all the guardsmen, they will be tuned in to hearing their own regimental marches stand a little taller, march a little smarter as they march past the dais.
Music changing to the British Grenadiers for number 3 Guard, Nijmegen Company. The Scots Guards Quick March, Helan Luddy. Number 4 Guard provided by F Company Scots Guards, commanded by Major James Drummond Murray, a 5th generation Scots Guards officer. The Irish Guards Quick March, St Patrick's Day. Their company commander, Major Mossy Hamilton, in his decade of service in the Irish Guards, it's his first birthday parade. And the Quick March for the Coldstream Guards, Milanolo. Number 6 Guard provided by number 7 Company Coldstream Guards. Music changed to the neutral Quick March by David Barringer, the director of the Household Mass Bands, and it's called Wisdom, Determination and Bravery. Field officer once again riding out and saluting the King. And as the Guards reform for the next stage of the parade, Lieutenant Colonel John Livesey rides out once again, and a few days ago he took a break from all the preparations to share his thoughts.
I'm hoping that the lasting impression that the King takes away from this birthday parade is that it sets the standard that he'd like to see for all the subsequent birthday parades. It's not just showing off my battalion's colours, but it's also having the chance to represent the link between the armed forces and the sovereign. When you're the commanding officer, you're invested emotionally into your battalion. So to see them showing themselves off after all the hard work that they have done, the sacrifices their families have to make as well to support them in their role, I feel huge pride.
Lieutenant Colonel John Livesey of the Welsh Guards talking to us a few days ago, and we met him and all of the team down at Windsor earlier this week. We saw some of the hard work going into the high standards for today. We met quite a few of the guardsmen there who have a great enthusiasm for boxing, and we were chatting about their fitness regime, which put some of us to shame, Henry, I have to say. But what I liked about it was the spirit, the family spirit of the regiment.
Yeah, huge experience, Shai, huge spirit within the battalion. You know, the battalion is first and foremost Welsh. We recruit 90% of our guardsmen are from the Principality, and the other 10% from the borders, and of course some of our guardsmen come from the foreign and Commonwealth countries around the globe. But yes, absolutely, first and foremost, Welshness and being Welsh is at the heart of the Welsh Guards.
Officers! Take post! Quick! March! Guards! In open order! Left and right! Dress! On to the right! Hand! Hand!
Corps of Drums with their version of the famous tune Cwmronda as the massed bands reform, making way for the mounted troops to pass the saluting base. Household Cavalry, the King's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery, the mounted band of the Household Division, they're all on their way. Major Paul Collis-Smith of the Blues and Royals, directing the band of the Household Cavalry. He's director of music. And another look at Apollo and Juno, the drum horses, carrying those very heavy, solid silver kettle drums. As we enjoy the magnificent sight and sound of the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery riding now onto the parade ground, I'm delighted to welcome Major Vicky Fraser, a former commanding officer of the King's Troop, with her expert knowledge of the parade and all the preparations that go towards it. Vicky, it's lovely to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. With all the long and patient wait for the King's Troop, how does this moment feel?
Good morning, Hugh. Well, this moment, of course, you're trying to subdue your excitement, but the commanding officer, Fran Sykes, will be thinking about her pacing, her speed, and also just quickly running through the words of command. The soldiers will be trying to wake up their horses, who would have no doubt have nodded off in the time that they've been waiting to step off. But all the while, they're thinking about their dressing and keeping it exact as they go past His Majesty the King.
Well, they are, as ever, looking extremely smart. They're looking very, very sharp. For us to underline once again, as Major Fran Sykes leads the King's Troop, that the guns, these historic guns, are the colour, are they not, Vicky? And that is the significance of the guns in this march past and this ride past.
They really are, Hugh. The guns for us are extremely special. These guns date back from the battlefields of World War I, where they were salvaged. They are indeed uninsurable, but they also have no brakes. So the horses that you see pulling them, and the closest ones to the guns, have very big bottoms. So they're used for slowing down the guns and for stopping them. But yet, the greatest of care is taken over them to get them not only in working order, but to keep them looking absolutely pristine.
Well, they do indeed. Blues and Royal slow march. Household Cavalry taking part now. Two regiments of the Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment, the Blues and Royals, whose Colonel, the Princess Royal, is on parade today, just there on the left, as is the Colonel of the Life Guards, Sir Edward Smith Osborne. Interesting to see, Vicky, because lots of people ask us every year about the uniforms and the gold braid and what that denotes.
And that's right, Hugh. So, yes, the House of Cavalry tend to wear an awful lot of gold, but it does have a historic significance. So the higher up the rank you are, the more responsibility you hold. So, for example, on today's parade is the divisional commander, Captain Lizzie Godwin, and she would have the responsibility of 24 horses. And in times gone past, that would mean she would have to tie up 24 horses, whereas the section commander would only have 4 horses under his responsibility, and so therefore would only have to have enough rope for 4 horses.
Well, there you have the definitive answer there from Vicky, so that all the questions you put in over the years have been finally answered to perfection. The farriers with their glinting axes. Field Officer's trumpeter, Lance Corporal Charles Clark, sounding the trot past. Trumpeter traditionally riding next to the commanding officer, always on a grey horse. There we see Charles just coming around there. Grey horse, of course, could be seen more easily on the battlefield among all the black horses. Today's riding Otto, who's 13 and has been with the Household Cavalry since 2013. So the King's Troop, once again in prominent position. And Vicky, a word about Fran Sykes, because of course she succeeded you as commanding officer, and she will be leaving very soon.
That's right, Hugh. This is her last parade in command, so this is a very poignant moment for her. But yeah, Fran and I go way back, I should say. We went through training together.
Which is based at Woolwich, and 75 horses on parade today. Standard of the Blues and Royals. His Majesty will acknowledge the standard, which remains at the carry during the trot past. The King and the Prince of Wales there. And as Colonel of the Blues and Royals, the Princess Royal, who's here, has played an important role in the coronation of her brother earlier this year, and she led the House of Cavalry from Westminster Abbey to Buckingham Palace. Lifeguards in their dazzling scarlet tunics. Director of Music, Polly Smith, band of the House of Cavalry. Kettle drummers crossing their sticks in salute. And a word here, Vicky, maybe about Apollo and Juno. I mentioned their Pembrokeshire roots, but they really are stars of this parade.
Yes, they're both Apollo and Juno, as you mentioned, came from the same farm in Wales, but the House of Cavalry have 4 drum horses in total, and you would have noticed they are the biggest, most enormous horses on parade. But again, this has historical roots in that the band and the drum horses would be the first thing coming over the horizon that the opposing forces would see, and therefore they would be sort of frightened into submission.
Well, seeing the size of them, I'm not surprised that people are frightened into submission. And this is the lovely scene just a few days ago when the Queen was presenting Juno, I think, with, well, a new set of insignia. It was a lovely scene that we saw just a few weeks ago before today's parade. And here they are, very much in presence. Director of Music preparing to turn inwards to signal that he's handing back control to the field officer. There.
Guards! Royal salute! Present! Arms! Guards, in close order. Left and right. Dress! will form 3 ranks. Form 3 ranks. Guards will retire. About 10. At the halt, by division. Right form. Quick march.
What's happening now is that the guards are closing up to reduce the length of the procession that follows along the Mall back to Buckingham Palace. Very familiar music is the Adjutant by Burkitt. Because the formal parade here is just about over, Henry, but of course there's more work to come.
Yeah, there is. John will now ask leave to fall out and march the troops back to Buckingham Palace. And of course, they've got to march back, and then actually the escort now will form the guard at Buckingham Palace. So for the men and women in the guard today on the escort, they will march back to Buckingham Palace and take over as today's guard, and then spend 24 hours guarding the palace. So a long day ahead still for certainly the escort, and most on parade as well.
And there is, of course, some unfinished business.
Yes, so Court Lassemer march back on and give the Sergeant Major his pace stick back. Sergeant Major now recovers his sword because his role in protecting the colour is done. And then Court Lassemer will take his place with the guard as well as they march back.
Guards! Left! Dress!
And here, if we just keep an eye there to the right, the left guide of the escort, Colour Sergeant Small, moved out there. All the guards can see him, and when he drops his arm, it's the signal then to all 6 guards. It's done.
Shoulder! Arms!
And at the very far end of the parade ground, you can see some movement there, because this gentleman is Garrison Sergeant Major Andrew Stokes, better known as Vern Stokes. We must congratulate him today, not just on an excellent parade, but because he is one of those who's received one of the birthday honours. He's been given the OBE for all the work he's done over the past year with the events that we've had. We'll say a little more about that shortly. Here's the field officer once again asking His Majesty this time for permission to march off. So permission has been given. That brings the formal part of the birthday parade of 2023 to an end, though, as I say, there's plenty of celebrating yet to come. Good moment as well at this point, Henry, to mention some of the relatively unsung heroes, and they include the colour points.
Yeah, so the colour sergeants there carrying the colour points, they are the company colours for each of the companies that will be out on parade today, and certainly for the Welsh Guards, they are very unique, very specific. They are the embodiment of the company. They reside with the company commander. when I was a company commander on operations, I actually took mine out on some of the missions that we went out on against the Taliban. And then when you leave being a company commander, you are actually presented with the company colour to take with you. And of course, it's a really significant moment. These are the first men on parade and they are the last men off. So they've been out there a very long time.
Very nice to underline that heritage isn't just a matter of some dusty history book. It's living heritage. It's very relevant.
Absolutely. You know, the whole significance of today, the company colours, the guns of the King's Troop, the standards of the House of Cavalry, and of course the colour that Freddie's borne so well today. You know, they are the embodiment of everything that we stand for, of all the regiments and units in the military. They are our past, our present and our future. They are our history, and they're the things that we hold most dear.
We have some of our royal guests who were among the first to arrive earlier. They're now leaving and returning to the palace, ready for the flypast, which will happen at around 1 o'clock. And we have 2 carriages here and the car that featured as well in this procession, which is bringing the Duke of York, Colonel of the Scots Guards, to and from the parade ground today. The Duke and Duchess of Gloucester in the second carriage. And we had the Duchess of Edinburgh and her 2 children in the first. And we're back on the parade ground. And there we have George and Charlotte and Louis. Louis just being tidied up a little by his mother.
By the left! Quick! March!
And they too will be joining now the procession on its way back. As grand a procession as you will see. Some of the best tunes have been saved for the end of the parade. This is The Welshman, a piece written by Lieutenant Colonel Peter Hannam, former Director of Music of the Welsh Guards and Senior Director of Music of the Household Division, written to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the raising of the Welsh Guards in 1990. Lots of good Welsh tunes. Wonder what's going through the King's mind at this point, having been Prince of Wales for all those decades and today taking salute for the first time as monarch at his own birthday parade, the King's birthday parade, the first King's birthday parade for over 70 years. And one thing has to be said, that conditions today, though it's sunny and warm, it's certainly not cold or hostile in any way, but far better, Vicky, I think it's fair to say, than last week, which during the second review that we watched was very challenging for horses and for all of those taking part. So today, your view on the conditions?
The conditions last week were significantly hotter. However, it is still warm, it is still muggy, and the horses tend to deal with these conditions a little bit better than the soldiers on parade. But they are very, very well taken care of. Behind the scenes, there were 2 veterinary officers, one from the Household Cavalry, one from the King's Troop, who are walking up and down the lines, ensuring that the horses are okay. On the return to their lines, the horses will have plenty of water, and they'll also have a nice, delicious recovery mash with plenty of apples and carrots.
And that's a sight that lots of people will be remarking on. I'm sure we'll have a few photographs of this image in the press tomorrow and elsewhere too, and online services as well. The lovely image of George and Charlotte and Louis and their mother, the Princess of Wales, and of course Queen Camilla as well. a real sense of the generations there, Henry, when we think of what today is about. It's about celebrating, of course, the official birthday of the reigning monarch, but it's also about establishing what the future of the royal family is about. And of course that the armed forces are very much a part of that in terms of looking ahead to what is important.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the king is our colonel-in-chief. We swear an allegiance to the king, to the monarch and their successors, and that's an incredibly important vow that we all make on starting our careers in the military. You know, we fight for king and country, and it's been upheld for some time, and it's fantastic to see, as you say, Hugh, you know, generations. His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales is the Colonel of the Welsh Guards, of course, and then now the younger royal princes, who one day I'm sure will take their position here, but rather nice to see them there to be able to look at their own father and grandfather who are on parade today. So further re-emphasising the familial bonds across the whole of the household division that we all have.
Well, as the carriage procession heads towards Buckingham Palace, a moment just to remind you that we are live on BBC One until 1:10 today with the royal salute from the King's Troop and the much anticipated flypast still to come. So stay with us, as well as our coverage here on BBC One. A quick reminder, there's also signed coverage available. There's audio described commentary for those who are blind or partially sighted, and coverage with no interviews or commentary. You can access all of those by pressing the red button and getting onto the iPlayer. And I'm delighted to say that Henry and Vicky still with me, and joining us is a very familiar colleague of ours on the day of the birthday parade, and that is Robert Hardman, who is a royal biographer of some distinction and a Daily Mail writer. And what a day so far, Robert. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Hugh. What a day indeed. I mean, you know, we've been through this series of firsts for the new king, and this is really right up there. You know, we've had obviously had his first Christmas broadcast, first Royal Maundy, all these moments. But I think today, what we've seen is this very powerful reminder of something he's been conscious of all his life, as you said earlier. I mean, it was 1951, I think, he very first saw this parade. He has seen what we're seeing today more often, I think, than anybody here, and yet for him, obviously, it's a very big moment to be out leading in front. And I think earlier on you mentioned that by the time Her late Majesty was the same age as the King, she'd been on the throne for you know, most of her reign. She stopped riding in this parade when she was 60. Here is the King at the age of 74. He'll be 75 in November, and here he is riding. I think this is his 48th year riding. I mean, it's remarkable, and on a new horse too.
Not without its challenges, has to be said, because lots of people were wondering, well, now that it's his birthday parade and it's his first as monarch, maybe we'll see a change, maybe he won't be riding, maybe he'll be in a carriage, and people might have understood that, but he wants to make a statement, and he wants to show that he can do it, and he wants to do it.
Yes, I think he's very conscious of the importance of these traditions. He's a very fine horseman, and I understand that he's been down to acquaint himself with Noble, the mare he's riding today. There's been a bit of practicing going on, but he is a very accomplished horseman. I noticed earlier on in the parade there were moments when Noble was sort of, you know, showing her nerves, going this way, that, reversing at points, and he was just very calmly, you know, patting her, reminding her everything's okay. He's got enough on his mind today without having to worry about his horse, but I thought he handled it very well.
Yeah, well, indeed, and I think we were just acknowledging that as the parade went on. Lots of things to mention at this point as well, Henry and Vicky. If I may, Henry, there are lots of streetliners, and of course it could be said that that is a position today that doesn't carry a lot of attention or praise, but it's worth noting that they've been doing an important job for several hours.
Absolutely, Hugh. They are. I did it in 2019. You are out before the main guards go out, and you're on the mall throughout the whole of the parade, and then ready to pay respects as as His Majesty comes past. So it's a significant moment for them, and perhaps not on the square, so they don't maybe get the spotlight of some of the guards who've marched past His Majesty, but certainly a significant part of the parade for all of them involved.
And it's something you...
A little bit, yeah.
Don't be modest, Henry. You can tell us.
The odd tricky horse moment, but yeah, I did a bit of an impromptu lap of the Queen Victoria Monument.
Well, sometimes it has to be done. And today's streetliners, including Coldstream Guards, Welsh Guards, Irish Guards and Grenadier Guards, so we're just saying well done to them.
And of course the London Guards as well, out for the first time. You know, our reservists, it's really, really good to see them out, and hence, of course, why His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh is mounted with the main procession.
And as the procession continuing down the Mall, we're looking there at the mounted band. Major Vicky Fraser still with me, and I'm just thinking, Vicky, different roles which are on display today for different riders. You also have experience at the Royal Mews before the King's Troop. What are your thoughts on the various roles that we're seeing today?
Yeah, so for the Royal Mews in particular, you've got the riding grooms who were part of the procession itself, who were there traditionally to carry extra gloves, extra set of reins, etc. However, as we're looking at the picture now, you can see the head coachman Matt Powers, who is driving Milford, Haven and Shadow, and pulling a carriage which is an Ascot State Landau, which is actually traditionally it's a convertible, which is what the landau means. But within the Royal Mews itself, you have coachmen, and the coach builders, so you have all these artisan skills that are going on behind the scenes, which enable today to be the success that you've really seen.
And part of the success, Robert, as well, is that, of course, the King has managed to maintain tradition while introducing change, which is not an easy thing to do. And part of the change, of course, is that we have several new Royal Colonels in the parade today.
Yes, Hugh. I mean, there's been so much that's had to change, obviously, in the last year. But you know, last night they had there you have two of the new colonels, and they had what's called the Senior Colonels Conference at Clarence House. It's a sort of family dinner the Duke of Edinburgh always used to enjoy hosting. But I mean, it's actually a serious meeting as well, where they talk about all the things relating to the various regiments, because you know, first and foremost, the Windsors are a forces family. I mean, you know, that for them, being colonel of a particular regiment, I mean, not just we saw the Queen there, who's obviously now the colonel of the Grenadiers, but I was there the other day when she became colonel-in-chief of the Lancers, the Royal Lancers now, which was her father's old regiment. And you see all the way that the family are just interwoven into every aspect of the armed forces. Today is a great celebration of that role that the King now has. He is commander-in-chief of everything.
It's a great sight, isn't it? And this is why people tune in, not just all around the UK, but all over the world, to see this in all its colour and all its style and all its precision. There we can see the Major General, Christopher Geeker, just in the back there, with his plumes flying in the wind. It's his last birthday parade as Major General, so hopefully he'll be happy with how it's Royal Henry at this point as well, because her long period of service as Colonel of the Blues and Royals is something that's worth underlining.
Absolutely. And as Robert was just saying, not only is she the Royal Colonel for the Blues and Royals and has been for some time, but she is also the Senior Colonel. And at that Colonel's Conference, it is very much, although as Robert was saying, it is a family affair, but it's presided over by the Senior Royal Colonel, who is Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal, and that's where they decide significant appointments and significant events, who will troop the colour next year, and such forth.
Still the Welsh tunes are ringing out. That was our Hyd yn Nos all through the night. Just coming along the Mall down towards the Queen Victoria Memorial. The drum major.
Yeah, drum major Rees from the Welsh Guards himself actually was the lone drummer some time ago. So yeah,
one of the best uniforms around. So crowds have gathered there, and there'll be more too, I would suspect. At this point, Robert, it's good to just remind people that when the royal family arrives back at the palace, there will be a march past for the king just at the gates of the palace, but then we will wait for the appearance on the balcony, which is always a highlight for people, and the fly past, which may well be even more impressive than some people had been expecting, yes?
Well, that's right, Hugh, because of course, sadly, on the day of the coronation, the weather meant that a lot of the fly past couldn't appear, but today they are going to make up for it. I mean, it is remarkable to think of all the things that you and I have been watching down this great ceremonial thoroughfare over the last 12 months. I mean, it has been a remarkable year with the Jubilee last year, all the mourning for Her late Majesty, the coronation, and now this. I mean, the Mall really has done its bit, I think you could say, over the last year, and that was a very happy moment there. I don't know quite what the joke was, but that's certainly the children are enjoying it. But yes, all this comes together, and there's this fabulous moment as the police start to allow the crowds into the Mall to come down outside the balcony, and that sums up what today is all about. It's that meeting of the armed forces, the people and their monarch.
So the king returns home, and the mounted band is ready. We have the divisions of the sovereign's escort to either side. And the king is riding noble today, as we've heard, and has shown a lot of skill and shown himself to be a confident horseman. And Vicky, of course, is the expert in all of the equestrian business that we have to discuss today. And would you describe King Charles III as an expert horseman, Vicky? Well, how would you describe him in terms of his skills?
I would absolutely agree, Hugh, especially today. I think noble has been a little bit spicy, and certainly at one point, I think if I was the king, I would have asked to have a quick swap, probably with his sister's horse, who looked extremely calm and very poised on parade.
Well, it's a challenge on your first birthday parade as sovereign. I mean, I know he's experienced at the parade, but this, after all, is the first big one for him. So it presents its challenges anyway, without having extra things to be concerned about.
I know. I think all the soldiers on parade have so much to think about, and then when you've got a horse to sit on and to control, that's just another added complication. So I think he's done exceptionally well today.
So here we have the guards marching past, and the king taking salute once again. Now, I suppose what people at home might be wondering now, Henry, is having seen a march past on the parade ground, and a trot past as well after that, why is this now necessary? Is this part of the same celebration?
Well, it's the formal end of the parade. The guards have escorted His Majesty back to Buckingham Palace and are now paying their final respects. But having taken part in the parade, this is certainly a moment I recall with great fondness. You've completed quite a significant event, and as you march past, you get that very clear look from the sovereign, and you know that it's been a job well done. And I would think that everybody today will be incredibly proud of how well they performed.
There we have a great view of the Royal Standard. Now, even at this kind of distance, you can tell that this Royal Standard is of some very impressive dimension. If we can take another look at it, which is flying above the palace there, because it is very, very impressive, and taking salute, and they're just looking up, and they can't miss it because the dimensions are, I think Henry can tell us what we can compare it with. And don't say the size of Wales.
Well, no, I couldn't possibly say that. So I'm led to believe it's the size of a tennis court, so 33 feet. It is vast, and it's only flown on very significant events. It's particularly flown on the birthday parade, and then will be flown next week at Windsor for the Garter service. But it's absolutely vast. It takes 3 people to put it up, and it was definitely one of those moments marching back down the Mall when I was commanding a company, when the bearskins part in front of you, and you can see the light shining on the Queen Victoria Monument, and the standard unfurls. Quite a memorable moment. It's quite something.
So we have some members of the royal family on the balcony already, but very soon, Robert, that'll be a full balcony. But there will be lots of interest in who exactly is invited onto the balcony, because that will tell us something about what the king wants to say and present as an image of the family for his first birthday parade.
You're absolutely right, Hugh. I think that will say a great deal. Over the years, under Her late Majesty, she always used to regard this as an occasion for the extended family, and this would be a moment where you'd see second cousins, third cousins. I mean, the balcony would be very full, and there would be a sort of overflow. Others who couldn't fit on the balcony would watch the flypast from the other side of the palace. Today, I think we're going to see it really pared back to what we call the working royal family and their spouses. It's going to be an indication of the way that the king very much looks now at we hear this phrase "slim down royal family" a lot. I mean, it's a smaller working unit than it used to be, but it's still got all the same duties. And today's a day to reflect and really highlight those who are in the front line, as it were.
King's Troop as part of this final sequence of celebration, and Vicky is someone who was in charge. What do you make of this in terms of the way that they are presenting themselves?
I think it's fair to say, Hugh, that as normal they are looking like perfection personified. They will be starting to get a little bit excited now, because they'll be looking forward to the salute as they approach Constitution Hill. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that they've done themselves very, very proud today.
And for those who are not familiar with the way this unfolds, the salute, of course, is the 41-gun salute, which will be fired from Green Park. And that's going to be part of their next work, yes? That's right, Hugh.
So they'll go now up Constitution Hill and turn into Green Park, where they will have a change of pace and they will trot onto position. They'll offload the guns and wait for the signal, and then they will fire their 41-gun salute. 41 guns because the 21 rounds is to signify historically to signify a warship coming into harbour, to signify that it didn't have any hostile intentions. And then Queen Victoria deemed that every royal park should have an additional 20 rounds added, so it's 41.
Thank you very much for the explanation of the 41-gun salute, which will come up very shortly. Household Cavalry, Blues and Royals, now saluting the King. Their red plumes and their dark blue tunics, in contrast to the lifeguards with their scarlet tunics and white plumes. And as we see all of this great military show and this pageantry, Henry, I think we can maybe just say a few words about someone who's so closely involved in all of this. I mentioned him earlier. That was the Garrison Sergeant Major, Fern Stokes, who will be keeping a close eye on all of this, because, of course, he has an overview of everything. Can he be proud today of what's been achieved? He certainly can be proud of his new honour in the honours list.
Well, I think first and foremost is to congratulate him publicly, like everyone will, I'm sure. He absolutely deserves significant national recognition. He is a man who has been at the centre of every public event and every ceremonial event that we've done, certainly in the Household Division, for nigh on 10 years now. Yeah, he is absolutely a quiet yet assured force of nature who everybody knows, and when he speaks, everybody listens.
national anthem being played as His Majesty the King heads back into Buckingham Palace. But as I was saying, today's events are far from over, with key contributions from members of the armed forces to come, including what we expect to be a truly spectacular tri-service flypast in the skies above London. Before that, we'll have the gun salute from the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery. That will take place in Green Park, which is just across the road from Buckingham Palace, and that'll happen in about possibly 15 minutes time, just before the flypast itself takes place. So those are the two major ceremonial and celebratory things which will bring the celebrations to a close today. There we have the magnificent Canada Gate entrance to Green Park, and a familiar sight for all of us who follow the events, the ceremonial events along this great route from Buckingham Palace along the Mall. And there we have the famous balcony where the family will appear in a short while. Making their way, some of them back to Wellington Barracks, others have some work to do. And I think, Henry, it's important to underline as well that for some of the guards today, there's some duty to perform after this parade, which seems quite a lot to pile on people after they've been taking part in the parade itself. But they'll be working at Buckingham Palace and elsewhere. There'll be a changing of the guard, of course, and there'll be some duties to perform.
Yes, as we said earlier on, the escort now becomes the guard at Buckingham Palace, so they will conduct a formal guard mount, as is referred to. So Alex Major will take on the role as captain of the guard, and actually the captain of the guard will take residence over in St James's Palace. St James's Palace, of course, is actually the heart of the court, the royal court, and that is where the captain of the guard, who guard both the palaces, will reside for his 24-hour stint after what has already been a long day.
Well, all of these elements, so familiar at the Sovereign's birthday parade, serve to remind us of the bond, the real bond which unites the monarch and the armed forces. When His Majesty came to the throne, he assumed the responsibility of Commander-in-Chief. In his case, someone with practical experience of military service and an understanding, really, of what military life is all about.
Over the years, His Majesty has clearly forged a very close relationship with the armed forces.
His Majesty recognized service of the armed forces, and he values his soldiers for their sacrifice.
He knows what it's like to be up at night and sit on a bridge and, you know, watch the night go through. And I think because he's done that, that makes us feel a really close kinship to him.
When he wears a uniform, there is a sense of connection, and that's been through his family, through generations of our monarchy.
I was not blind to the responsibilities of instructing the heir to the throne to fly in the Royal Air Force. He was a very amusing companion. I mean, obviously had a great sense of humor, very determined to do his best. The part of the syllabus he enjoyed most was the close formation flying. And that's where he came across one problem. He could fly echelon, left and right. He picked that up very, very quickly. But when we went into line astern, all of a sudden, he was finding that difficult. And I really couldn't see the reason for this, except, of course, that he was trying very hard. But I then said, well, how do you relax? And then he started singing. All of a sudden, the problem was solved. During his time with the Royal Air Force, his acquaintanceships with society obviously widened considerably. With the airmen, and the engineers, and other elements of the service. He was just interested in what we did and how we did it. And in 1971, he got his wings on the passing out parade of Cranwell, and then departed for the Royal Navy.
When the Prince of Wales arrives here at the Britannia Royal Naval College, he'll be following in a very well-established family tradition. Both his father, the Duke of Edinburgh, and his grandfather, King George VI, did part of their naval training here at the college.
In 1976, our now King became the commanding officer of HMS Bronington, and I was his first lieutenant, his second in command. You are, in a sense, your own monarch as a captain, because no one much can tell you what exactly is going to be done at sea. And you are responsible, in a real way, for human lives. Things that helped His Majesty be a good leader in a naval environment was the ease with which he could correspond with fellow human beings. I noticed, working with him, that it didn't much matter who it was, up, down, or sideways. He was the same. He knew everybody's name, their background, their personal life, who had had children, and all the rest of it. The sort of things that really touch people because they realize that they matter.
Every time I meet His Majesty, he remembers me. I'm not sure how his memory must be. Super powerful. The King is chief of our regiment, the Royal Gurkha Rifles. So, yeah, we had very close tie with the monarch. I was deployed in Afghanistan. I was injured and lost my both legs and sustained multiple injuries. During my recovery, His Majesty sent a personal letter with a bottle of whiskey, which was my honor to receive that. Now I'm retired. I served through a different way. I set myself to climb Mount Everest. We were at base camp on the day after King's coronation, and we raised a glass of whiskeys with my team and did a chase for His Majesty. His Majesty knew that I was going to climb the Mount Everest, and I hope he's proud of me.
We're all serving personnel, but we also understand that the King serves his country too. I carried the King's colour during the coronation march. It really felt like you were doing something monumental in history, and you just wanted to give it your absolute best. At the end of the coronation, we all marched into Buckingham Palace gardens, and His Majesty came out. He had such a wonderful smile on his face. He was looking at us as though he was so proud of us all. You could see him looking over everybody, trying to make eye contact with as many people as he possibly could.
3 cheers for His Majesty, the King, and Her Majesty, the Queen! Hip, hip!
The hip, hip, hooray echoed everywhere.
Hip, hip!
People said they could hear it from absolutely miles around.
Hip, hip!
They all know he's done it. He has been tested, and he understands us.
There's a relationship that everybody has with the sovereign.
He's definitely one of us.
He is not just a king, but a very good human being.
And it's in that spirit, of course, that all of these celebrations are taking place today. This was the King's Troop just a few seconds ago, riding into Green Park, and their former commanding officer, Vicky, is still with us. And what's to be achieved, Vicky? What's the important thing to get ready at this point?
So what you saw there, Hugh, was the gun numbers jumping off their horses, and the horses being taken off to the side to the wagon line, so they're completely out of harm's way. And then the gunners now are just moving the guns into their position. You've got 4 gunners there, ready to ensure that the gun fires at the right time when the order is given, with the gun number 4 marking the position.
Well, the salute will take place in a few minutes' time, but meanwhile, you have thousands of people crowding down the Mall, and Robert Hardman is still with us. This really, Robert, is the hallmark of a successful day, a successful parade, and this is the scene that will greet the King on his first birthday parade as monarch.
Yes, Hugh, it's always a wonderful scene as the police they look at the way they do it. I mean, it's just done. It's all done. Everyone is so good-natured about this. There's no barging. Everyone just takes their turn and they come down and they fill that space around the Queen Victoria Memorial, which I must say is looking magnificent. If you just see off to the sides there, the Royal Parks have had to replant that very quickly since the coronation. And there, just look how, I mean, tens of thousands of people. And this is an international day. Yes, there we have the Union flag down either side, 66 of them in total. Just round the corner on Horse Guards, we've got all the flags of the Commonwealth. You know, this is a big day across the Commonwealth. It's interesting to reflect that the United Kingdom, we don't actually have a national day. We're one of only 2 countries in the world that doesn't. We have our home nations days, obviously, but there's no UK national day. So at embassies and high commissions all around the world right now, the King's birthday is Britain's national day. There will be garden parties going on embassy and high commission lawns right around the globe, because this is our day as a country, really. If we come together, and we come together around this focal point of our sovereign, as we are about to see when he steps out onto his balcony.
Well, lots of people, of course, are looking forward to that moment. For many members of the Household Division, by the way, lots of their work is now done. They can kind of begin to relax. JJ Chalmers is with the Director of Music of the Band of the Welsh Guards, Major Lauren Pittritz-Watts.
Ma'am, may I be the first to congratulate you on not just how that looked, but how it sounded. You've kind of masterminded much of the music today. No one can argue that it wasn't Welsh. Tell me about some of the choices of music and what it means to the Band of the Welsh Guards.
Oh, thank you so much. And it really does mean a huge amount to everyone, not just the band, but also to the regiment and the wider community. That this year, the Welsh Guards trooping their colour, that the music really does have that Welsh flavour. So when we find out that it's our regiment who's trooping, there goes in a lot of research for the selection process, and we just really want to make sure we're getting that balance of well-known Welsh music. So people will have heard things like Cam Rhondda, Suogan, the Blackbird, Calon Lan, and that's just really important, so that those tunes are really uplifting not just the audience and people who are there to enjoy it, but when the troops are on the ground as well, that they are really feeling the pride of their regimental music being performed.
You've already made history, yourself personally, and ultimately today that's the first time that a female director of music that you have arranged and composed has been played. I mean, how does that make you feel, knowing that maybe 80 years from now they'll be requesting your music?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it's just a huge honour and a privilege to have been given that opportunity, and I just hope, I mean, gosh, if that gets picked again in the future, I'd be delighted.
And what does it mean, to you, but also to those that you're conducting, the Welsh Guards? Briefly, what does it mean to be part of this historic event?
Yeah, I just think, if you had to sum it up with one word, it would be pride. And I think it's about that pride and responsibility that you have for not just the Welsh Guards, but I think all of the army and the military community, and then also actually for the people at home who are watching, and just really Great Britain at its best. I mean, you look around and you see the crowds and you can feel the energy and just the atmosphere. It's just really joyous and positive, and that's what being here today, being a small part of that, means so much.
Well, thank you for helping to create that atmosphere as well.
Well, joyous and positive is how you'd sum up the atmosphere now, and people have been allowed to go beyond the end of the mall then, try to crowd around the Queen Victoria Memorial, around to the gates of Buckingham Palace itself. Of course, days like this bring back memories for lots of people. That's what's special about them. If you think back to 1950, for example, you'll realise that very often on these days very little has changed. It's over 70 years since we witnessed a King's birthday parade. There's the same spot for you. Back in 1950, when George VI returned to Buckingham Palace for the March Past. And in a world where so much has changed, what's special, I suppose, Robert, today is that this ceremony is reassuringly familiar as well.
Absolutely, Hugh. I mean, monarchy is all about continuity, tradition, moving with the times, but yes, that reassuring sense that some things never change, and I think today is one of them. And one of the reasons Her late Majesty always loved this day was it was the precursor to so many of her favourite things. You'd have the trooping, the birthday parade we have here, and then the following week you have the Garter ceremony at Windsor Castle, going back centuries, which they love. And here you see it's very interesting how the crowds are actually getting a lot closer than they could get at the time of the coronation and last year's Jubilee, because there's less of us in the media there. There's more room for the people.
Let's go into Green Park, because we have the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery ready to fire their special 41 gun salute. That's the commanding officer, Major Fran Sykes, giving the orders to fire the salutes. Onto the 5th. The entire salute would take 6 minutes. And this is all about precision, Vicky, isn't it? This is all about getting it absolutely right.
That's right. As you see, Fran is looking at her watch, and every 5 seconds she'll give the warning order. So she'll say the gun number, and then the following 5 seconds she'll give the order to fire. Next to her is the regimental sergeant major, who is counting each round on his leather wristband, which he pierces with a soldier's button from a uniform, and he pierces a piece of paper inside it. But off to the side is the battery quartermaster, who's second counting, so that they're all ensuring that they're firing the right number of rounds. So I'm sure, as you can imagine, it's easy to lose track of how many.
So that's the gun salute underway in Green Park. And the moment the crowd's gathering below Buckingham Palace, they've all been waiting for what's approaching. They're looking forward to the flight past, of course they are. It's a tri-service display this year. Something special planned, we think. JJ's with Wing Commander Victoria Fulton.
Yes, indeed, something special planned. Is that fair to say? That's what Hugh's just said. Is it going to be, yeah, one for the history books?
Absolutely. It's a very special tri-service 5+ plan for today, with 70 aircraft coming from all over the UK. So we've got aircraft down from as far as Cornwall for Royal Naval Air Station Culdrose, all the way from Royal Air Force Lossiemouth up in Scotland.
Of course, at the coronation we had this low cloud cover over the city, and it just felt like we didn't quite get the icing on the cake or the cherry on top of it. That's essentially what we're seeing today, is that right?
Absolutely, a full 5+ today, so very much building on the work that was done for the coronation, but an extra few aircraft in there today, so even bigger and even better.
And of all sorts of vintages, we're going back to the Second World War and through?
Absolutely, so ranging, the oldest aircraft will be from the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, and the newest will be our Envoy aircraft. That's going to be at the end of the fly past with the red arrows.
You kind of mentioned it, but this really is a nationwide thing. It's people from up and down the country, and they're sitting over the North Sea at the moment?
Well, some of them still are. So when the first helicopters fly over the palace, the last package will be 60 miles away over Chelmsford. So at the moment, orbiting over the North Sea, first package is going at about 90 knots, the last one at 300. So very much joining together on time and on target when they get over the Buckingham Palace.
I mean, we're not meant to have favourites, but is there any little highlight that you might be looking forward to?
Well, I think the whole fly past will be a highlight, but if you ask me personally, that's the Hercules for me. After 56 years of service in the Royal Air Force and soon to go out of service, this will be its last fly past, so I'll particularly be looking out for that.
Yeah, and a very well-earned one. We've all got pretty happy memories, probably some tough memories of Hercules as well. I mean, what a way to sort of see out a service.
Absolutely. I think if you've been in the military and been on operations, then you will have been in or around a Hercules. So I think everyone's got their personal memories of that particular aircraft.
How does it feel to you personally being here? I know you've never been in person, you've watched it on the television. You know, there's nothing quite like seeing it all come together, particularly the flypast.
No, it's absolutely fantastic. Well, it's been extremely privileged to be here today as part of my personal tribute to our King on his official birthday.
And I mean, we couldn't have asked for better conditions for it, could we?
No, we're really grateful today to be able to do the full flypast for you, and hopefully we'll see the aircraft overhead pretty soon.
Wonderful. Well, we cannot wait to see it. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Well, that should whet the appetite nicely, and there you have the Royal Standard flying powerfully in the breeze, that enormous standard that is used on special days like today. We're waiting for the royal family to appear on the balcony. Robert Hardman is with us, and I'm just wondering, Robert, at this point, when we look at the empty balcony, we're just about to see a new chapter opening in the history of the royal family. Of course, it started last year, but this really is the first birthday parade for the new monarch, and for him, after you said, you know, such a long, lifelong wait really to get to this point, it's a very poignant occasion as well. It's not just celebration, there's an element of poignancy too.
There is absolutely, Hugh. I mean, you know, he is, as a boy, as a little boy, he was there at Sandringham, you know, the day the king died. I mean, for him, there's so many thoughts going through his mind here. I spoke to him a few years ago about trooping and the birthday parade, and he told me about how when he was a little boy, one of his earliest memories was seeing all these amazing uniforms. He was transfixed by the sight of his great uncle, the Earl of Athlone, the sort of whiskered Victorian, in his breastplate. It still sticks in his mind. And Louis and George and Charlotte, they'll be having these same memories from today. When you've grown up with this, when this has been, you know, just part of your life, I think it's incredibly powerful when you suddenly realise, yes, today, you know, it's for me. And there we have the balcony. One of the reasons it's going to be a slightly reduced family party is that actually we have to remember that Buckingham Palace is still very much a building site, and behind those windows there, a lot of that is under refurbishment. It's really just the centre room they come out of that's been redone. So there isn't a great scope for a large family gathering there. But all these people down here in front around the Queen Victoria Memorial, they will certainly have a sight to remember very shortly.
Well, should be within a minute, I think, Robert, if they're bang on time, and to be fair to them, they normally are. Aircraft from all three services will be taking part in this flypast for the King's birthday parade. Around 70 aircraft, that's right, 70 aircraft from the Royal Navy and the British Army and the Royal Air Force. They'll be passing over the Mall and Buckingham Palace, very much in tribute to the new monarch for this first birthday flypast for His Majesty King Charles III. From our position here, because I'll just let you into the secret that we're not at Buckingham Palace, we're at Horse Guards Parade. Just looking out of my little window here, I can see the helicopters approaching, because we have a series of waves of helicopters approaching first, and right on time, the King and the Queen, the Prince of Wales and the Princess of Wales and other members of the family appearing on the balcony and greeting the vast crowds below. Duke of Edinburgh and the Duchess of Edinburgh. We have Princess Charlotte there on the left-hand side. So the first 5 waves of the flypast, which will be enjoyed by the King and Queen and others, will showcase the helicopter capability of the 3 services, the first 5 waves. The Juno helicopters, followed by the Wildcat Mark II and the Merlin Mark II. 4 Apaches and 1 Wildcat. Princess Royal taking an interest in what exactly she's seeing. Three vast Chinooks and a Puma. Now we're looking for the next sequence, which is the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. And we have a Lancaster, unmistakable. We have a Spitfire and we have 2 Hurricanes, all of them from the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. They're just flying over Horse Guards Parade right now, so they'll be at the palace within a matter of seconds. Prince of Wales explaining to Prince George exactly what was going on. And there we have the 3 Hercules. And they're being celebrated today because they're being retired after decades of service, at least the Hercules as a model. The latest one, the C-130J. They put in decades of work in supporting moving troops and equipment. The C-17 Globemaster. Princess Charlotte enjoying the flight past. The Voyager and the Atlas. Poseidon, center, and 2 Typhoons. Six of the F-35B Lightnings. There they come. They're just crossing central London and Horse Guards Parade now. They'll be at Buckingham Palace within a second or 2. Filling the sky with sound above Green Park and St James's Park. And look at the 18 Typhoons with a very special tribute, a special formation, CR, to celebrate this first birthday parade of the new reign. Something the King will appreciate more than anyone else. Perfectly done. Look at that. We're not finished. We have one envoy, CC1, and then we have Do I need to tell you? The red arrows to bring everything to a magnificent conclusion in red, white and blue for King Charles III on his first birthday parade day. The King and Queen, all smiles greeting the crowd here on this day of the birthday parade. And there you have Prince of Wales on the left with the Princess of Wales, Princess Charlotte, following her grandfather into Buckingham Palace. All the crowds who've enjoyed not just the parade and the music, but of course that great fly past. The Duke of Edinburgh and the Duchess of Edinburgh following into the palace itself. And a last word from Robert Hardman, who's with me. And Robert, not just the spectacular fly past, but a King and Queen looking very relaxed and happy there.
Very relaxed, very happy. I think just very pleased, as I said earlier. This is one of the key sort of first moments of one's reign. You know, it's your first birthday parade. It's gone extremely well. It's a first birthday parade for the new Prince and Princess of Wales, for the new Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. We've seen a lot of change encapsulated in that scene on the balcony, but at the same time, some things, as we've said all through this, Hugh, some things never change. The enduring power and appeal of monarchy, people and forces.
Well, don't forget, you can see the highlights of the day's events this evening at 5 to 6 on BBC Two. But for now, from my guests, Colonel Henry Llewellyn Usher, Major Vicky Fraser, Robert Hardman, all of us here on the BBC team, thank you for watching and goodbye.